All right, gentlemen, we are back for episode number something.
17, I think.
Number.
I have no clue.
That might be
I
right.
think it's
I lost
17.
count.
Yeah. we're pretty far into it now. So, over a half a year, just kept it going, chugging right along. How was everybody's Blizzard?
Yeah, that's a good.
Gosh, that'll really date the week that we're recording this. Although I
Yeah,
guess
it
this
is.
one's releasing in a short turnaround.
It's
But
true.
yeah.
Yeah. Mine was great. I was just at home with my wife and baby. We were snowed in. We did a bunch of random house projects, and it was awesome. Yeah, I had a great weekend.
What'd you get done? What's the...
I had just very random fixes, little fixes that just get put on the back burner. So some things in the bathroom, the kitchen. We hung up some decor. We cleaned. We did I don't know how many loads of laundry. I mean, it was incredible. Just
Sure.
It was a great week. How was your Blizzard week?
It was nice. We had a nice 3 snow days. So, Monday,
So
Tuesday,
you were off today,
Wednesday.
too?
I
Yeah.
was off today.
You got to go in tomorrow?
I do. It's a 2-hour delay. There are
Gosh.
a lot of schools in the area that did cancel, but not us, man. We, we're going strong. We got to get back into learning and all that stuff. So
Yeah, you do.
these kids had enough time off. But no, it was really good. We just, honestly, this is the first time that I've been out since Saturday. So I have not left my house. I've just been sitting there and doing my thing, which has been kind of nice.
Yeah.
My wife was like, hey, do you want to go out and do something today? Go out and get in the car and drive around and go to this bin store or whatever. I was like, nah, I'm good.
Okay. Not stir crazy yet.
I'm fine. It wasn't too bad. The kids were great. We had a good time. We did not play out in the snow this time. Tori saw this cool TikTok or Instagram reel, whatever, where somebody showed them bringing in shovelfuls of snow and putting it into the bathtub. And she's like, oh, the kids would probably love just to be able to play in the snow. You have to go outside, get all cold and everything, because they didn't really enjoy that the last time that it snowed. And they did not enjoy playing with it in the bathtub
So then you just have a bathtub full of snow for a while.
We did, yeah. So then I had to go in there and melt it all down.
Good. All right. Well, Nick,
that's funny.
real quick, highlight of your Disney trip, since that was our last episode, and I know you just went.
Yeah. Well, it was a really good time. We had just a phenomenal trip. Got to do just about everything that we set out to do. I would have loved to have spent a little bit more time at Epcot. But I think my favorite ride out of all of them that we did, which we did, I would say a decent amount of them, I really loved the Ratatouille ride.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
I was
It was
not
just-
expecting that.
It was really cool. I think it was just the effect of the way that they put it together so that it feels like you've been shrunk down to the size of a mouse. And there's so many other similar rides that have a similar, the cart's about the same, a lot of the screens and stuff that they use, but just the effect from that, I was like, this is really cool.
Yeah, and it's one of the trackless ones, right? It's like a magnetic ride, so that it just glides around, which is real nice. But yeah,
I was on I was on Rise of the Resistance, and we had to be evacuated off.
Oh
of it.
no!
Really? What happened?
Shut down?
Just
Yeah.
broke down at some point. Something happened, and so luckily it didn't shut down for the entire day. So we did get to come back, but it did, I was a little bit disappointed. It took me out of the
Yeah, it
experience.
spoils the illusion.
Yeah, it does a little bit because it was really cool. I mean, if you ever get to go and ride it, it does kind of put you into Star Wars, and
Especially
that's really fun.
the lead up to it.
Yes.
It's the whole experience of getting on it. You don't feel like you're in a line because they're you're basically captured by the resistance, the Empire.
Yeah,
but
the First Order.
First Order. There, just and you're being organized into prisoner lines and about to be interrogated and stuff like that. So it's interesting how they do
It's wild too. There's
Yeah.
one part you get on this transport, and then when you get off of it, I don't know how exactly it happens, but you're inside of the First Order. It was what is it? It's one of their Star Destroyers.
it. Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah, that's
just
cool.
that again. That's another one of those cool effects where you weren't there, and then the door opens, and you are, and it's really cool. You feel like you're flying through space. So
Yeah, that's
Good time.
awesome. Very cool. Well, hey, Ben, do you want to introduce our guest?
Yeah, so today we are talking F1 with a good friend of mine from church and other things, other shenanigans, D&D included, Keith. So, Keith, welcome to Fandom of Fandoms.
Yeah,
Thank
welcome.
you, gentlemen. I'm glad you guys got the practice rounds out of the way before you brought in the big dogs.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
We were waiting until we were ready, so I think we're good now.
Yeah.
no, I'm excited here. Well, let's hit that intro
Yeah,
music.
absolutely.
Hello and welcome to Fandom of Fandoms, the show where every single episode we are diving into worlds that fans love most. And this week we're going to be talking about Formula One. I am Nick with my co-hosts Ben and Michael, and obviously our guest, who is the expert here today, going to be talking to us about Formula One. We're going to have some fun.
Awesome. So yeah, Nick, I know you were looking right beforehand. Why don't you give us a little breakdown of what Formula One racing is for anyone who doesn't know at least some of the details?
Sure thing, which I would not know any of this without looking it up. So this is like a nice thing for me to just have to read off of. But Formula One traces its roots back to Europe in the early 20th century when manufacturers began racing custom-built cars on closed circuits to prove speed, engineering, and prestige. After World War II, these races were standardized under a shared rule set, or formula, and in 1950, the first official Formula One World Championship was held starting at Silverstone in England. From the beginning, F1 has been about pushing technology to its limits, blending elite drivers with cutting-edge engineering, teams backed by major car manufacturers, and over the decades, the sport has evolved dramatically with massive advances in safety, aerodynamics, and hybrid technology while still maintaining its core identity as the pinnacle of open-wheel racing.
Wow. So it is a sport.
It is a sport.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah. It's a global sport done across 5 continents. There's a lot of tradition. High stakes competition, lots of drama back behind all of the races and all that stuff. And some of those races, most of the races are, it's just milliseconds. So they're just trying to shave milliseconds off of the time, which is wild to me.
Yeah. And I mean, so like you were saying, kind of like, I know the technology behind everything is such a huge part. Like there's 20 drivers, but like these companies that are behind the racers are like thousands of people each, just engineers and scientists and aerodynamic specialists, like doing all this work.
Yeah, and the cars there you'll see on the grid now are 2+ years in development just for that version of the car. So we can talk more about that, especially with the new regulations coming out. But yeah, significant amount of work.
New regulations, awesome.
Yeah.
I don't even understand the old ones.
This sport regulations are fun. So.
Yes, the best part of any podcast.
The
regulations and
Crack
rules.
Everybody open your rule book so we can all review it together.
Well, Keith, why don't you talk to us a little bit about what got you into F1 to begin with?
Yeah.
Well, hold on. Before we do that, like, background.
Oh, yeah, good call. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Background. So, Michael, you got any background in F1?
I have absolutely no background. I had F1 Hot Wheels cars growing up. That's probably it.
Had you heard of Monaco?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So my wife and I and a couple of our friends, we watched the first half of F1 the movie on Monday. So that's kind of been like my introduction. And I was just telling these guys before we hit record that I was loving it. Like it's great so far. So I'm excited to finish it. But yeah, no really background at all. What about you, Ben?
You know, it's funny. I watched the first half of it too because it was on my flight to Florida.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't it wasn't that I didn't want to finish it.
Yeah.
I just didn't have a long enough flight.
You didn't
to
finish
watch.
it? Not on the way back?
I was so I wanted to do that, but then my kids demanded
kids.
my attention.
Yeah,
toddlers
kids.
on an airplane. Yeah, but Ben, what about you?
I, up until about a month ago, didn't know a ton either. But once we scheduled Keith and I started watching some stuff, I started with the F1 movie, and then I moved on to Drive to Survive, and I might be becoming a fan. I'm getting pretty hooked. It's fascinating.
It is.
And I'm like really excited to talk to Keith about it. But so besides the movie, anything else for you, Nick?
Not a lot. I know what was it because they just brought in the Las Vegas Grand Prix. That was that 2 seasons ago, and I remember that being a big deal. That like, hey, we're actually gonna see one of these races in the United States because I don't believe was there another one before that.
Texas?
Yes,
Was there-
Austin's been around for
And there's
about a
one in
decade.
Miami, too,
and then
right?
They just
Yeah.
added 2 or 3 years back.
Oh,
Also
okay.
added Miami.
But the
Okay,
Vegas
so
one was fascinating because it's like literally on the streets of Vegas.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Correct.
Yeah.
So like shut down half the city, like
Yes.
right? Yeah.
I heard the first one was kind of a disaster, honestly.
The Las Vegas one.
Yes,
yeah.
there's
My
just a lot of
favorite
problems.
driver, his car got wrecked in qualifying because a manhole.
I heard
Oh.
about it.
That's right. The
Yes.
suction was so great that it
Yes.
pulled it off, right?
Yeah.
So they had to go back and weld all the manholes that were on the route. I
Correct.
remember hearing about that.
Correct. Yeah. Had
Nuts.
to be signs. Come on. But
So now it's your turn, Keith. What got you into
Yeah.
F1?
I would say when I was younger, I loved competition in any form, right? So I was, oddly enough, I watched all sports. I would use my money as a kid to buy like Guinness World Records books because I just loved like
Classic.
any
Yeah.
type of, right.
That's
So
cool.
it's like now if you had like a bowl of spaghetti and be like, how much could you get on your fork?
Gosh.
I would like be like, yeah, how much can you? Like that sounds fun to me, right? My dad and my brother would watch IndyCar when I was growing up, and I thought it was fine, but they loved it. They loved the technology part of it. My brother's now a mechanical engineer. He worked for Honda at one point.
Cool.
So that very much was down his alley, and we went to some races, and I tagged along because I was like, well, yeah, let's see what that's about. And I'll always remember just the sound, and when the cars would drive by, you could feel it in your ribs. And I was like, this is so weird. And then
This is awakening something.
yeah. And then they wanted to go to the actual part where the teams were getting the cars ready, right? The paddock, they call it. And they had like set up so you could just watch them. And I wanted to stay there all day, just watching all these people like crazy.
Yeah.
And it just, I had no idea there was so much behind it. And then later through like Cub Scouts or something like that, we actually went over to the Ray Hall section because they were based out of Hilliard here in Columbus. And so we got to talk to some of the people there, and I was like, man, this is just, it's so different than the other sports that I'd seen. So super interested in that. As I got older, kind of lost interest in motorsports really, but still kind of kept an ancillary view on it, right? So fast forward to maybe 7 or so years ago, Formula One, I was aware of Monaco, one of the big races. I knew that Lewis Hamilton was killing everybody. I knew about Ferrari being this large fan base, but I didn't really know much beyond that. And then Drive to Survive actually hit Netflix. And I had just happened to catch it right as they dropped it. And I was like, I'll put it on in the background or whatever. And just kind of rekindled some of that interest. And I was like, oh, man. So, yeah, I've kind of been full steam ahead since that.
I gotta say, Drive to Survive. For those of you who don't know, it's a documentary series on Netflix, documenting like behind the scenes of a whole season of F1.
Yes,
it is not a background show. I cannot have it on and do other stuff. Like I am fixated on it because it's so fascinating.
It's very.
When I started, it was like kind of jumps around a lot too. At least in the season that I was in, it would like go all the way through, part of the season, then like jump back and like tell another team's story that's more towards the beginning of the season, that sort of thing. So I could see how it'd be hard to. I was having a hard time following. Like I tried to put it on in the background and watch my kid, and didn't work. Didn't work.
Wow, very cool.
So like you've been getting back into it the last 7 or so years. Then what's really sucked you into like more of a fandom level then, rather than just like casually observing?
I think it's just everything seems larger than life, right? It's very much competition at potentially the highest level. Not just because they're elite athletes, it's because you have to have hundreds of millions of dollars to even get your foot in the door.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right. And where they're racing, the circuits that they have around the world, it's like the Super Bowl every time you go there. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people are there.
What? How many races are in 15 races in a season?
About 20. 24, 23, 24, depending.
That's a lot.
Yeah, but it's every race you go to, right? There's usually either a dedicated circuit that's made for it, or it's a street circuit. Like they'll shut down that part of the city.
Or Monaco, which is like a whole country or principality in its own, like probably the whole place shuts down. Yeah,
well, we can talk about that.
Okay,
a lot. But and then it's like every race, you guys probably seen the huge champagne bottles they're spraying, right? But they give out custom made trophies that are just different for every single race. Every race is a Grand Prix, so there's not really like prees, but so it's just everything just seems bigger.
Yeah.
And that even comes down to how much money sponsors put into it, all the celebrities that are there. It just seems just big every single time. So it's hard not to get kind of excited. Yeah. As well as they have engineers that could be working at NASA if they wanted, right? These engineers are insane. Their cars are more like rockets. It's hard to call them cars.
It's a rocket engine strapped to 4 wheels, right?
It is, right? So just even from a technical standpoint, it just is that much higher, and so it's hard not to
Yeah.
get kind of wrapped up in it.
Yeah,
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 that's why.
for sure. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
So I went into a little bit of like the origin stuff. Give me
Yes.
like a little bit of an overview. So
Yes.
there's 20 drivers, you said? Or I thought I heard, is it 20 or 22?
Well, it's
Oh.
20. This upcoming year is 22. So
Oh, a
come
new
back
team.
We'll come
Okay.
back to that one. Yes.
So
So like compared to other motorsports, right? It's easy. Something like NASCAR is like, yeah, you go around in the circles, for 500 laps, then whoever's in front wins. Similar concept, except they don't use they use different track patterns, different circuits, right? So there's 20 cars on the grid, coming up 22 cars, and they have to qualify to say where they start on race day, and then they race. And so over the period of those 24, they accumulate points based off of where they finish in a race.
can I ask a clarifying question too?
Yeah.
So I know that there's teams. So does that mean there's only 10 teams?
Correct.
And then
Currently,
it's
yeah.
2 cars per team? Is that
That's correct.
okay?
Yep.
Huh.
And so they do work as a team, right? So the constructors series is which team finishes, right, with accumulating of the 2 drivers. They also have a driver championship, so which driver accumulated the most points.
And it's top 10 score points.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So first place you get 23 points. Second place you get 18. It goes all the way down, and then if you place 11th, no
Nothing.
points.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a big, there's a lot to it, and like I mean, qualifying is a whole thing. I definitely want to get
Yes.
your like breakdown
Yes.
of, but yeah, like there's a lot to it,
Well,
like
let's,
everything.
I mean, we can do that, right? As an over, or did you want to save that for later?
Oh, we can keep going
Yes.
into it now. Yeah.
I was thinking like that'd be a good thing. I'd love to know a little bit more about qualifying as well.
Yes.
So
Yeah. So each race weekend or race week is broken down into 3 days. So on Fridays they would have what they call free practice. Saturday would be qualifying. Sunday would be the actual race. So Friday they get there, they get the car warmed up, they do a few laps. A lot of times, if you have a younger driver, they'll be out there
Getting
doing
used
it.
to the course.
Yeah. If they want to try a new setup on the car, they'll try it, but there's nothing really tied to it. As a fan, that's when everyone likes to do all the speculations, but the times don't mean anything. And then Saturday comes around, which is qualifying. And so qualifying is all the cars are out at different times, but for them, they call them flying laps, right? I want building up to a flying lap, and they're trying to get their fastest individual times. So they're not racing the other cars, they're racing the clock. And so based on how they do the lap, they can make it into later phases of qualifying. So if you get through Q1, if you're in the top, I think it's like 15. If you get through that, you can then do additional laps to try to get a
that's
better
what
time.
determines pole position. Is that right?
Yes. So after the 3 qualifying rounds within there, whoever has the lowest track time or lap time, they'll be on pole position. And then it's descending from there.
And each of those qualifying laps are like, is it like a time limit or is it a like number of laps that they can do?
Yes, so it would be within each like Q1, Q2, Q3. They have a certain amount of laps that they can do.
Okay.
They'll declare like I'm doing a flying lap.
Okay.
And it's only a handful. It's like 3-4 laps.
Wow.
So they're not sitting in there just constantly going. And they're listening to see what the other drivers are doing. And so they could say like, "Hey, you're in 4th place right now," or you're they call it Q4 for
Q4.
qualifying. Well, that's
yeah.
later.
Okay,
Q4
sorry,
for
Q4.
qualifying.
So they do it at the same time, or they're different?
Somewhat, right? So they'll have 5 or 6 cars out at the same time, and some will be coming and going. But as you get later into the qualifying laps or the phases, they would have all the cars out there. So they're kind of asynchronously doing it, right? You could be halfway through a lap when someone else is starting. So they're hearing like things coming in, like, "Hey, that was a good lap. You're in 4th," and then it's like, "Yeah, now you're down to 10th because everyone else is coming in."
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's fascinating for
Yes.
sure.
Qualifying to me is super exciting. And for some of the circuits, it's more exciting than the race because they're literally doing everything they can to get the fastest time. During a race, there's a lot more strategy, right? They have to defend, they have to maintain their tires or engine temperature. Qualifying, it's not that. It's literally do whatever it takes to go as fast as you can.
Yeah.
So it can get pretty dramatic.
So their pole position is not determined by their points in the season at all. That has nothing. That's just a
Correct.
bearing.
Yeah.
You could be
like,
last place in the table.
That's
and,
actually, that's a good point. You're saying it is a sport because there's not like a playoff, right? Where it's like, oh, you go in and say, I accumulated so many points, so then in the next race I can start higher. No, every race is a reset. So, yeah.
And then recently they've introduced, is it sprint races or something like that? That's like a fourth day?
Yeah, well, yeah, no, it kind of breaks up qualifying. So what they'll do is on Friday for free practice, they would qualify what they call a sprint race. So think of it as like a mini race.
Okay.
And so they'll do 34 laps instead of 77 laps.
Okay.
And yeah, that's been controversial because what they'll do is they'll do qualifying for that race, then you have to qualify for the actual race, and then you race. And so from a driver's standpoint,
So they qualify for the sprint.
Qualify for the sprint, do the sprint, qualify for the race, do the race.
So extra,
that's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah.
So the idea is like from someone going to a race, you're like, oh, sweet, I just watched 2 races or a race and a half. From a driver's standpoint, they're not as excited about it because it's more stress on the team getting it ready, and then it's just for them it's extra risk.
More opportunities to crash the car or like something go wrong. Yeah,
exactly.
Are there points associated with the sprints?
There are.
Are there?
Yeah, so it's different point system. It's and not all race weekends will do a sprint. They'll usually pepper in a few. But yeah, you'll get some additional points, but it's not as much as a full race.
So yeah, like how long is an average like actual race?
It's about an hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, and so they'll
That's
have
not long at all.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's pretty short.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. And so each track will have different kind of number of laps that you would have to complete. And so yeah, it's not terribly long, but everything kind of leading up to it, right? Because they'll come out and do formation laps, and they'll do other things going into it. So as a fan, you're there for quite a while. The teams are there getting everything prepped. But yeah, the race itself about an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I'm just in my head. I'm thinking like NASCAR, and it would be on Sunday afternoon from like noon to 6 p.m. or like something.
They are long.
It was so long. Yeah, and I've been to a NASCAR race.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, I've been to the Brickyard 400. My dad took me for my birthday one year. So, it was an all day event. So, I guess I had that as a reference in my head. I didn't realize that they were so short. So.
Are the qualifiers, is that more like for the people that are there to watch the races, or do they actually televise those too and put it out there for?
No, so they will televise, and I do plan on bringing that up a little bit later with one of the other questions. They do televise it, I would say from a viewer standpoint, it's a lot easier to follow qualifying because there's kind of less going on at once. But there's a lot of excitement too, because with a lot of circuits, the higher that you place during qualifying really actually dramatically increases your chances of winning the race or placing high. Yeah. And in some cases, they say like the race is done on Saturday.
Like Monaco, I know for example, the streets are so narrow you can't really pass. So
correct.
That's why pole position is so important at Monaco.
Wow,
so watching qualifying for Monaco is the race.
Yeah.
Because I think last year for Monaco there was 2 overtakes the whole race.
Wow.
So when you look at other ones,
crazy.
we're talking 40, 50 overtakes.
Yeah. Right.
In a race. So it's qualifying is race day for Monaco.
It's kind of a bummer, honestly. Like, is that something that they realize as being something that, like, hey, we might need
huge controversy within Formula One, not just the
fan base.
That might be
hot take later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. That's definitely one of them. But you're right. They are aware of it. There's a lot of people that have very strong opinions on both sides about it. So.
Well, talk to us. I know I'm getting into the minutia a little bit, but I know another big part of it has to do with the pitting.
Yes.
And the strategy behind pitting is a big part of the race as a whole.
Correct.
Does that play a role in qualifying, or is that only on race day?
No, that's a great question. It's race day.
Yeah.
So qualifying they will pit. They will pit if I think they. It's a strategy thing. So for qualifying in races, they only have a certain number of tires. So even though all the cars are individually manufactured, the tires are all exactly the same.
But Pirelli, right?
Pirelli, right? The manufacturer. Look at him.
It's plastered on literally everything F1, Mike.
So they're only given a certain number of tires. Now, you can use all of those in qualifying if you'd like.
But then you got nothing left for race day.
Yeah, but then, So generally, they're not pitting during qualifying, or if they do, it's just once. And that might be if the conditions are changing, like rain starts to roll in. So not as much of a strategic move, but in race day, it is. And it would be... A lot of times you guys probably seen clips, even if you're not a fan of motorsports, where, someone comes flying into a pit lane. They're there for 2.8 seconds, then they're gone. Right. What is unique about IndyCar is they don't refuel compared to some of the other motorsports. They'll actually have to refuel. Usually what they do is tires or the front nose. The whole front nose of the car is actually detachable, and they'll swap that out. Sometimes they'll need to swap out steering wheels. Sometimes they need to mess with the water that the drivers are actually drinking. But all of that's done as minimally as possible. So a lot of times they have to make strategic decisions of whether do I pit now, do I pit later, or if they see somebody who's leading the race pit, everyone else is like, no, I'm going to pit now. And just so they can kind of keep the same pace.
Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
they have to, right? Like, isn't that they have to
There's like a tire compound requirement, right?
So yeah, well,
Is that part of what's changing? Sorry.
no, it's really good. They're not required to pit,
really?
but at the end of the race, their car is weighed,
Oh.
and so there's times where that they'll have to go and pit and get new tires so that they can actually meet the weight regulation at the end.
Oh, okay.
The other part of that is if you've seen it when people are racing, or after a race, a lot of times the drivers will actually drive into the gravel, as because they'll do like a celebration lap, around, and it's kind of for the fans. They'll drive slowly. The drivers will drive in the gravel because they'll warm their tires up and go into the gravel to pick the gravel up
Make it weigh more?
Make sure their car weighs more. So yeah, dead serious.
Yeah.
So right. So one thing they are talking about, and I have very strong feelings about it, is doing force pits for something like Monaco, where they would force them to pit. But that's more of a to keep things competitive, right? So they just know if all the cars are going to stay out there, it minimizes the amount of overtakes they can do.
Sure.
So they are discussing doing. People are pushing for that. I really hope it doesn't go that route. It takes away a lot of the strategy of the racing itself. But yeah,
I thought that was so. I guess we can talk about the tire compound thing later. I thought that was a thing. Is that only in some of the races then? That's like
What's
that they have to use a certain like.
Because I thought I read, or maybe in that video you sent us, there was something about having to use two tire compounds, two different tires for a race.
So having the
a softer and a
soft
medium,
and
hard,
soft
yeah.
and mediums, yes. Yeah. So in that case, they'll have different strategies depending on different strategies depending on the conditions.
I remember from the F1 movie, they were going through their tire strategies, and the first time they went through it, and it was like, all right, we'll start soft and then do hard. I was like, I was so lost for like a little bit.
Yeah, because a lot of that, again, it's they're going to be losing. They're going to be losing grip on the tires.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like they're going to go out and their strategy is going to be we're never going to pit, because other teams, they'll swap their tires out for new tires and they'll just blow by the teams. Right. So yeah, a lot of times it's, do we want to get up early, or they'll watch what other teams are doing. They'll watch conditions on the track, because a lot of times the longer the race goes on, if it starts to heat up, it's going to be different. If it becomes, some are more slick as they're driving on it, the conditions become more slicker. The track, there's oils that are in the track. If it's newer, that start to come up to the surface, it makes it more slick. So they'll have different strategies based off of that. And it's more of a game time decision of, do we want to swap out tires or not, or do we need to change that strategy?
Yeah, that makes sense. Wow. Dang, interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's been a great discussion so far. We like to do like a starter pack. So obviously you've, explained a lot of, kind of the behind the scenes, how it works and whatnot. But I guess like for someone like me, or really any of us, I guess that are kind of just getting started, like, what would you recommend to someone, for kind of introducing them to the fandom, getting into it? Like, where should someone start?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's pretty tough because unlike soccer or football, Formula One's a harder sport to follow. So a lot of it is not just learning the rules and regulations. It's actually just being able to watch it and understand what's happening, right? Because, like you said, you can't sit back on a Sunday and, have it on in the background and just peek up. So diving into a race for most people is very intimidating. What I would recommend, find a video online that's like explain Formula One as an overview, just around kind of the context, a lot of what we talked about here. And then what I would actually do is I would go back and watch clips from qualifying of a race. So choose my favorite track would be Silverstone. I know it was mentioned as kind of the original. It's still kind of one of the greats. Go look up one of the old qualifying for that, right? Watch some of the clips or a highlight of what happened. and then watch interviews after that, right? So what they'll do is after, just like other sports, they'll interview the drivers, say, how does it feel? Are you feeling confident? What adjustments do you guys need to make? And just listen to the drivers talk. And so if you can watch Formula One qualifying, including the interviews, that's going to be probably the easiest way to step into it, both on the track and off the track. And then if you still continue to have interest in that, I would recommend watching just the first season of Drive to Survive.
Nice. Yeah.
And then if that doesn't hook you, it's going to be hard beyond that unless you're a super gearhead and you're super interested in the technicals. Following the sport isn't going to get any easier than those. So.
Nice.
What's the next race coming up here?
Start of the season, right?
So right now, they're doing preseason testing.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Where's the first one this year?
The first race, I think, is in Australia.
Okay.
This year.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think I saw. Is it March? Is that right? Sound right?
Into March, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Very cool.
Well, I mean, we usually wrap up our starter pack with what's your elevator pitch or your impassioned plea as to why someone should get into F1?
Yeah, I was going to say, for me, if you enjoy competition, you enjoy sports, and you want to see it at the highest level, the Formula One's really going to be a place to, not just for motorsports, but in general, to watch competition at the highest level. So, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. And
that was,
Michael did not prep you for that, did he?
No. I kind of panicked there. I was like, this is epic.
You keep it coming because I don't think the audience is going to be able to hear that came in.
We'll start it off. We'll start off our next segment with that too.
He started playing the music from in case it doesn't show up on our actual recording.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll take a quick break and then we'll come back and talk about some of the actual culture inside of F1 fandoms.
All right. Wow, I'm feeling it.
Same. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So dramatic.
Yeah,
Awesome.
the NFL has nothing on F1 theme.
And when I was pulling that down, they have it's like an intro video with all the racers in it too and stuff like that. It's like super dramatic.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, yeah, it's a hype video for sure.
That's
we
pretty
can
cool.
talk about that. One of the pictures I sent you guys was the T pose. For
I saw that. Who was it?
that is George Russell.
Russell, okay.
Yeah. So the whole joke is with they made him do it as part of the production of that theme. And everybody made fun of him. And then when he started winning races, he would get out of his car and do the T pose.
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah.
Did they do? So they had him posing that way in the
so
video. I'll have to go back and look at that.
Some producer told him be dramatic.
Yeah,
And
I'll
they
send
made
you
it.
guys the video because it is super dramatic.
Yeah.
Staines does like a hair flip or something like that, and
it's pretty corny. So yeah, George got beat up pretty hard. So he took it, he took it and owned it. So it was great.
It's funny. Nice. Well, we are back still talking with Keith, and we're going to dive into this conversation about fandom culture.
Yes.
And so our starting question for this section is usually what sort of content outside of the actual races do you enjoy? So I know you would send us some memes and stuff, and you just kind of got into that a little bit just now, but you want to give us a little bit of a fill in here about some of that?
Yeah, I would say the real answer to the question of what keeps you going might actually be the memes. So I would say that Formula One has several very prominent fandoms within their subreddits. There's the main one that's got 7 million people that do it around the world, right? And they're really good about moderating all of the content. They have a technical one, which they're really good about. You take a picture from someone's cell phone from a half mile away, and they just can't see anything but pixels, but they dive into look how they changed, the slope on this curve to across, and they just break down all the technicals.
Looking at the car itself,
looking at the
or
car, comparing it to the last 3 years, comparing all the different cars on the grid and the differences. It's crazy. And then my favorite one, which is called Formula Dank, is the premium meme culture for Formula One. I would say they're really good about being respectful because they just make fun of everybody equally. And it's a safe place to share memes, make fun of teams, racers, make fun of kind of the meta culture. And so that's fun, right? A lot of sports have that, right? Of especially if they're dogging on their own team. Kind of, especially with Drive to Survive, right? They say there's this whole other culture around what actually happens in the races, what happens on the show.
Oh, gotcha.
So
I was just thinking
and the
too-
memes are just nonstop, and I can't get enough.
I was just thinking too, like I just watching a little bit of Drive to Survive and seeing a little bit, but like their pressers and stuff where they're sitting on the couch afterwards and like seeing some of the ridiculous questions that they get. I mean, I guess that's any sport, but like
and what's unique about Formula One is they do have that, right? So they'll ask kind of T-ball, kind of lame, like, "Hey, did you guys sports real hard today?" And but also it's an international media corps.
Yeah.
So they'll also say like stuff like, "Hey, in the last 5 races, you bottled it. Are you going to bottle it again today?" And sorry for Americans, bottles like you just screw it up. And so they'll be like, "Yeah,
Thanks
are
for
we going
clarification.
are we going to expect you to ruin your day today?" And so they'll also get really kind of what we would consider nasty.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
it's really honest. And what I do enjoy is the drivers and even kind of the team principals will answer back with honesty. Right. So a lot of times after a race, when things are heated, they'll say, "Hey, what happened out there?" And the driver will be like, "The car was crap." And they'll use other words, but they'll say, "That car was terrible. Nobody could drive that car." And right, you don't hear that on other sports. They'll say like, "Oh, be a team player first." The drivers will be like, "No, it was the car."
I was gonna say,
or they'll be like, "Nick drove me off the road." That's what happened.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Do they
so there's
have
a lot
like
more
a
honesty.
fine structure like in the NFL, like of what these drivers can't say?
Well, I wouldn't say what they can't say. They are required to talk to it. And there's been some drivers in the past that did the Marshawn Lynch of like, "I'm only here so I'm not fined."
Right.
So, yeah.
Didn't you say one of the
Kimi
most
Räikkönen.
current?
Well, I just mean like
him,
trash
yeah.
talking their own team or their own
Oh,
engineers
yeah.
and their cars and stuff.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that's a normal thing.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, that brings up an interesting question. So in Drive to Survive, at least, like, you get, like, full access to the radio comms between, like, the driver and the one person they're allowed to talk
Correct.
to. Is that, like, broadcast while the races are happening?
Yes. So,
That's crazy.
Yes. So the other teams can hear what happens during the pit lanes. So, because there's a lot of coordination to make sure you don't run into each other. But other than that, there's times where it's just the engineer talking to their driver.
Yeah.
And that is broadcast. And so it's usually on a delay, right? So other teams can't hear. And it's usually coded language, right? Well, they'll say like, they would talk about plan B, plan C.
Yeah.
They'll have other kind of language like that to make it so that when other people are hearing, they don't know what you're talking about. But other times, it's very clear what they're talking about.
I was gonna say, I've heard so much of the drivers trash their own teams, their own engineers, like while they're driving, and I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah,
like,
because during races they'll give updates to say like, "Hey, Lewis Hamilton's 1.2 seconds behind you."
Yeah.
Just to give you updates, say, "Hey, they're gaining on you," and then or like, "Hey, your engine's running a little hot. You need to babysit a little bit more. Calm down." But then other times they'll be giving updates while they're battling, and the drivers just be like, "Stop talking. I don't want to hear you again. And just let me drive." So they'll during competitions, right? People are heated anyway.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things. They'll say things to other drivers. They'll make hand motions. There's things that they have to apologize about later because they'll see it. But all of that is as a TV viewer, you can hear that stuff broadcast.
that's crazy. Yeah, because again, like I wouldn't hate to be an engineer, like the one that's communicating with the driver.
Yes.
Because you have to be like, you're such a babysitter where you're
Correct.
trying to like gently correct them, but the driver is just like cussing you out and saying, "Get out of my ear, like
So-
shut the heck up." Like,
because each driver has like a race engineer, right? So they're the ones that are communicating on the radio with them, and it's usually supposed to be a quite like a close bond.
Yeah.
But they're supposed to communicate all this information to him, or they're going to ask the driver like, "How are you doing? What are you feeling? What are you seeing?" And a lot of times, especially with certain teams, Ferrari, they're just constantly talking like, "We need updates," and the driver's like, "I don't care. I'm not going to give you one. Like, just let me drive."
I think my favorite I saw was recently, like, I was watching and there was like a rainy day or something like that. And like, what are the course conditions like? And the driver's like, wet. What do you think? Like, thanks.
Yeah. There's a lot of that.
Oh,
Keith,
man.
do you have a favorite driver or team that you like to make fun of?
Do I like to make fun of?
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's a great question.
I mean, you made a Ferrari crack, which was great.
Yes. So I would say again back to kind of the big subcultures or the big fandoms within Formula One. the tifosi is probably the biggest, and that's the Ferrari fans. So if you are born in Italy, I think by default you're a tifosi. But yeah, it's not just big in Italy, but it's if in Italy it's like being a Catholic. It's just like they're born that way. But just historically, Ferrari's always been very successful. And so they've also built a lot of fans outside of Italy that way.
Sure.
To now, even today, even though they haven't been as relevant.
I was gonna say it's McLaren now, isn't it? Right?
Yeah,
McLaren and Red Bull.
Yeah. So Ferrari's a great target, just because they're successful. They have this great lineage.
Yeah,
everyone knows them. So it's fun to make fun of that. But to make fun of, I do enjoy individually, I guess, making sure that everyone's covered. I love the drivers because they're all confident that they're the best.
Oh yeah.
And so they have different ways of saying that and showing that, right? But it's always great when a driver goes in, they're super confident and they're saying I'm gonna make a point here, and then they drive themselves off the track on the 11th lap. And you're like, well, you didn't get anything. You were dead last. So I do always enjoy that. But yeah, a lot of the teams, they'll generate a lot of drama, right? They'll try to badmouth other teams. So when they don't do as well, it's fun for everybody. Yeah.
Sure.
So what are we kind of touched some of them earlier, but and we said we'd bring it up again. What are some of your hot takes?
Yes.
Either your hot takes inside the fandom or hot takes of others that are popular in the fandom?
Yeah. I'd say I'll start off. Maybe I'll talk about some hot takes within the fandom.
Okay.
And then I'll talk about my own personal
Okay.
one. Hot takes within the fandom. So we had talked a little bit about the movie about Drive to Survive. That's actually a pretty big division.
Okay.
And so I would say right now it's different. But when Drive to Survive came out, the first season, everyone's like, okay, interesting. They were given unprecedented access to everybody.
Wow.
And it was very much like a documentary crew coming in. Well, what started to happen was they were getting creative with the editing, and they created narratives that weren't true.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, that's any reality or documentary ever created, you know?
Yeah, it is. But then it kind of got out of control. So then after, I think the second season, Max Verstappen, who was one of the big up and coming racers at that time, was like, I don't want to do this anymore because you're turning me into the bad guy. Right. So they're like, I refuse to talk to you.
Yeah.
So then Netflix was like, great. That feeds into the bad guy thing, right? So like he has no chance.
Oh, you don't want to talk to us because you're
Right.
Oh my god.
So it definitely escalated. I would say later 2 seasons, maybe they toned it down a little bit, but I would say the grid wasn't too excited about it, but at the same time brought a lot of new people in, myself included. And I think with a lot of the new people that came in, a lot of them, they really enjoyed the drama. They enjoyed the drivers, their personalities, right? But they didn't really go too far into the sport itself. Yeah. There's some people like myself that went a lot further into it, and then there's some people that kind of just petered out. Or there's always it brought a lot of women viewers in because of the drama, but they ended up sticking around enjoying it, or they liked it because their boyfriend was into it. And they're like, well, at least I know how to talk to him now, right? So it did have some kind of different effects in the community, but it was almost a chalk line with existing fans where they said, "Oh, you're one of the Drives to Survive, the DTS guys," right? So I think we're far enough out now that if you watched the show when it was originally on and you didn't care about Formula One, you're gone, right? So that has brought a lot of new people in, but that's been pretty divisive. But some of the other hot takes that I would say is the pipeline for drivers to come into the sport is broken, and there's not an easy path. So if you actually look at a lot of the drivers that are on the grid now, they started off doing go-karts, right? And then they did that until they were like 14, and then they moved them into like a formula car, so a lot of these guys, they're driving cars over 200 miles an hour before they can legally drive a car on a road.
I saw something about that earlier. 17-year-old kid.
Just that whole path of getting there it's kind of broken. But
is it not? Do they not typically go like karting, then like Formula 3, Formula 2, or is it
that? I think that's the general path. Yeah, and what they do is a lot of the bigger teams, they have junior teams where they say like, hey, you're really good in karting. We're essentially going to hold your hand up. And so that by the time you get good enough, you're going to have a spot as maybe a reserve driver on one of our teams. But yeah.
Well, and even within, this was an interesting thing to learn. Even within F1 itself, some of these big companies own multiple teams. Like Red Bull, for example, has 2 teams.
Correct.
And so there's Red Bull and there's Racing Bulls.
Yes.
And so like the Racing Bulls are like the B team.
Yeah.
Like, and so they will sign these drivers a contract. Like you can be in these 4, we have 4 spots. You can be in one of these 4 spots, but you want to be on the Red Bulls team because that's the good car.
Correct.
Whereas Racing Bulls is like,
Right.
And
it's fine.
It
but
is kind of weird, especially because this last season they had their second driver was in there for 2 races and he wasn't cutting it, so they moved him down to the Racing Bulls and they moved somebody up to Red Bull. And it's that part's kind of weird. So
That's
the
crazy
whole path,
that they have 2 teams and there's only 10 teams.
Yeah.
Like that's wild.
that is wild. Yeah.
Wow.
So that I was gonna hold this question till later, but not like this seems like it's related to, because one of the things that I've kind of noticed, I know Max Verstappen is like the guy, has been the guy for I don't know how many seasons has it been now, 6?
Yeah, but last 5 or so. Yeah.
Just like wins 85% of the races.
Yes.
And so it sounds like, I mean, is that I guess my question is like how does it keep people entertained when you have that few number of teams? I would think that like in a sport like this, you would expect, I guess, that if this is truly like every single team is just like the top notch, top tier, whatever, the week in, week out, you wouldn't necessarily be able to know who was going to win every single time. So is it, it sounds like there's a couple factors going on. Is Max Verstappen that good? I'm sure it has something to do with the fact that the Red Bulls just have that much money invested into the game, and they're like, well, we're just going to make sure that our top driver continues to win and all that stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question, because a lot of that comes down to when a driver does well. Do they have a good car? Are they a good driver? Is it a mixture of both? In Max Verstappen's, that guy, the whole joke is he can drive a tractor in these races and he'd still be in the top 5, right? And there's again, memes, check them out, everybody. He's a once in a generation driver, so it's kind of tough, right? But he was one of those. The
Tiger Woods of Formula One,
The Dominic Toretto of Formula 1.
God, he's just. They knew when he was karting. This guy, he was meticulous. He was consistent. He was aggressive, but not too aggressive.
He's not crashing the car, but he's
not.
Yeah.
He was in his first few seasons. He took a lot of big risks.
Okay,
they didn't work out, but he's just. They knew from the beginning. They knew when he was like 13, he was going to be a star, and he still continues to do it. So he is absolutely meticulous. You look at a lot of computer projections of the best way to race a track, and he's off by like 2 turns of following that same path.
That's crazy.
He's meticulous, and so. It's kind of hard taking that, but if you apply that to as a fan, it's fun to watch because it's a sport where if you make one mistake, you end up in a wall.
Yep.
Right. If you take one turn too late, you end up in the gravel, or you end up hitting another driver. So there's a lot of things that have to happen in a race every time for them to be successful. And even the greats, right? So Lewis Hamilton, he's won seven championships. Even during those, he's not super consistent. But watching Max do it in different conditions with a car that's not the best car on the grid, he's just that good. And so as a fan, it's great, right? Especially now because he's at a point where he's won 4 championships. He said like essentially he was like, I might just retire. I don't know. He's kind of reached that point where he's just like,
what else is there to prove?
Well, he doesn't have to prove himself, so he's out there just like, man.
So he doesn't want to chase the 7 and that Schumacher and Lewis have.
I don't know if he does, but he just wants to race. That's all he thinks about. So like one of my favorite things, I know I sent you guys one of the memes, is iRacing. So that's another community within motorsports, but it's essentially like a realistic simulator of Formula One. And there's like leagues, right? So you can do different tournaments and stuff. And so one of the highest ranked people in this is Max Verstappen. So, because when he's not racing on a track, he's racing
He's
on
in the
iRacing.
simulator.
Right. Yeah, he's in it, and he's like on Twitch. And so the whole joke was like several times during some of these last seasons, it would be a big race coming up, and his team would yell at him saying, "You need to go to bed." He's up at 2 a.m. streaming on Twitch that he's racing. I'm like, dude, you got to be up and race in 8 hours. Like, what are you doing? And so he'd get up and win that race, and then he's back to iRacing again, right?
Wow.
So he's
Just racing 24/7.
just
Yeah.
racing. And so even in the off seasons, he'll enter some WEC races, right? So endurance races, and he'll use a fake name, and they don't know until it's over. Like, you're racing against Max Verstappen because he just
Dang.
wants to race. Yeah.
So Ben, I'm thinking that you and I need to change our strategy with volleyball. Like,
Oh.
we need to live and breathe volleyball day and
Gosh.
night in order to get good.
Well, I mean, yeah, that just generally applies to a lot of things. But
Do you have a volleyball simulator in your house?
I guess I need one. Nick,
I'm
so
kidding.
why don't we get into some of our would you rather's? Nick,
Yes.
I know you didn't come up with these, but why don't you? It's your thing. So why don't you walk us
you're
through
the
them?
best at,
All
at
right,
saying
fair
them.
enough. Thank you, Ben, for developing the questions this time. I slacked off, but I appreciate you. Keith, would you rather have your team dominate? We should ask this first. Who is your team? Like, who do you support?
That's a great question. I definitely fall into the camp of I follow a driver, and not so much a team. So within Formula One, it's drivers get traded, they move
It's like
strategically.
they usually sign like 2-year contracts or something
Right.
like that, and then they'll be on another team.
Right.
Like,
So my guy is Carlos Sainz. He's the smooth operator, and so he's been on 5 different teams now.
Oh,
And so
really?
it's hard to say I'm a fan of a team. So I'm Williams.
Who's he on now?
I'm Williams.
Oh,
fan.
Williams.
which
He was Ferrari at one point, right?
He
Yeah.
was. Yep.
Well, but then Lewis Hamilton won.
I have a Ferrari shirt I can't wear anymore, and I don't know what to do with. But yeah, so Sainz is my guy.
Okay.
He's a strategist. He's called smooth operator.
Did
Started
he
off as a
leave
joke.
because he was the top guy on Ferrari and then
No.
Lewis Hamilton?
No. So he was on his way up, and he was doing better and better at Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton had a falling out with Mercedes. He'd been there for
10 years at
10
least,
plus
yeah.
years. Yeah, won 6 championships with them. He had a falling out with Mercedes that was huge, and then he was like, "Hey, I wanna be a part of the best organization," and he went to Ferrari. So Ferrari had this problem because they had Charles Leclerc, who's a phenomenal racer as well, that they've always kind of had as their number one guy. And then they had Sainz, who was coming up and was doing really well, not quite on the level of Leclerc, but they're like, well, we only have 2 seats. What are we supposed to do? We have a 7-time world champion, the biggest star
Yeah.
in Formula One in 30 years. What are we supposed to do? And so they had to kick Sainz out. So
And he's
Yeah.
good enough that he was going to get a seat somewhere.
he
But,
would,
yeah.
yes. I think it was at the time out of the other 9 teams, 7 of the teams were talking to him actively.
I
So
Don't doubt
That's
that
it
at all.
crazy.
yeah.
Wow.
So
Well, back to the would you rather then. So I'll
Yes.
tweak this a little bit. Would
Okay,
you rather
perfect.
see Sainz dominate all season or have a tight competition down to the last race?
Great, because this last season went down to the last race for the win. I'd rather dominate. I get it.
Nice.
I'd rather dominate. It is thrilling to watch, right, when it comes down to that final race. But even from dominating standpoint, it's great, right? Because Max had won a few times that way. But each race, it's then everyone's chasing him, right?
Yeah.
Is he going to screw up? He has a huge target on his back. So it's not always just a walk in the park if you're that far ahead. The consistency thing is huge. If you can be consistent in 24 different races across several months, different conditions, everyone's exhausted at the end of the year. It kind of just makes it more clear how good of a driver they are if they're able to be that consistent with it. So
Yeah, makes sense.
absolutely,
Cool.
absolutely dominate.
Would you rather see a rookie come from nowhere and win a race or a retiring driver get their last hurrah?
That's good because the grid now I think is 18 to 48 in terms of ages right now.
Wow.
So it's a little bit of both sides. I love seeing a rookie or young driver doing well. Formula One's a weird sport where you can get a podium just once, and then that lands you your next contract with a significantly better team.
Wow.
And so it's it's kind of, if you can prove yourself in one race, not only does this driver get confidence, there's more people behind him. There's more interest in him as a driver, and it makes their seat a little bit more secure.
Yeah, and with only like 20 spots, like are you gonna take a risk on someone who's never proven themselves, or someone who at least has gotten a podium or two?
Right.
Like, it's such a small pool.
Yeah, some of the rookies are there because they're part of a junior thing. The teams are taking a risk on them. Other drivers, they're there because they're like, look, there wasn't a better option, and just don't make us regret it. Right. And so it's really tough on rookies to come up.
This made me think of another question. So there's 2 drivers on each team.
Yes.
Are they allowed just one reserve driver, or what's the?
That's a good question. Yes. So they have one reserve driver, and I honestly don't know what happens because they do have other people on their team that are drivers, but they can only list their 2 drivers and a reserve driver. So like, perfect example, my guy signs once, his appendix had to be removed, and so like. That's kind of a big deal. Could somebody else
start the race and then the reserve driver take over? Is that a thing that happens or no?
I don't believe you're able to do that. You have to list it based off of your number, right? So each racer would be assigned that. Yeah. So when a reserve driver comes in, those points are assigned to that driver. So bad for the driver that doesn't go there, but the points are then accrued still for the team. So so they can carry that third reserve driver.
Interesting. Would you rather be a reserve driver for a top team or a full-time driver for one in the lower tiers?
So that's a really hard question to answer. Am I supposed to answer for myself or
for yourself?
For myself.
Yeah.
I would much rather be a reserve driver on a better team.
Okay.
So what the reason is, because I would just soak everything up like a sponge, right? Just how a team runs themselves, how the drivers give feedback on the car, what their strategies look like, what their work ethic looks like, how they work out, how they do simulators. I would soak all that up. You hear a lot of drivers talk about when they go to other teams, they have to learn the culture, or they're expected to bring the culture with them, right? So if there's especially an older driver, they'll come in and be kind of this, hey, I have sage wisdom, but they'll also be like, that's how you guys talk strategy? Because that's not going to work. All right, they'll change a lot of that. And so I think being a reserve driver on there, you still get a lot of simulator time. You don't get as much on the track time, but you're there working hand in hand with the best on the grid. So I think I could learn a lot from that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Let's do one more, and I think this next one, Nick, is the one I'm definitely interested to hear Keith's opinion on.
Okay.
Would you rather see only one race in a year in person with a VIP experience, or watch every race in a year from the comfort of your own home?
That's a great question. So this actually does lead into my personal hot take. So my answer is I would rather the one race with the VIP. There's so much that goes on off the actual race itself, right? So from a VIP standpoint, when you're at a race, you're sitting most likely at one of the turns, and maybe one of the straights, right? So you see 1/20th
blurs
of a race,
cars going by.
Yeah, and that's why people don't sit on the straights. Is you see a blur, like, hey, what blur was that? Was it orange or blue? I don't know. They'll sit on the turns, right? Which is cool because you see a lot more, but it's so disconnected from the whole race.
Yeah. And so, someone's leading one turn and then they come around another lap and like, oh, now they're in like third, but like,
right. And so when you're sitting there at a race, you're tracking it anyway, right? You're tracking it separately to see because you only see a certain part of it. But there's so much that happens, right? All the press stuff they do, the grid walk, all the celebrities are out there. They'll do the driver parades. You're in the fan, people are setting off full fireworks, right?
Wow.
It's just like, again, just that whole experience. And then they'll have people come down to actually sit in the paddock, right? You'll get to talk with drivers. You'll get to see the mechanics and stuff like that, right? To me, that's the full experience of what happens at a race. Even though you're not able to see the full race itself, I do think it's better.
The environment makes up for it.
Right. Yeah. And that goes into my hot take is that watching Formula One races on a broadcast actually sucks. It's not good. Right. So if you look at other sports, and maybe not
so
take
it's not
motorsports
good to watch it in person at a corner, but it's also not good to watch it.
I would say watching the race is the biggest barrier of why the sport's not huge. It's because it sucks.
Should replay that one right there. That's
Again, like I said, that's my personal hot
Clip
takes.
that, Nick.
Yeah.
hilarious.
So because if you look at it from a competition standpoint, you can't focus on the whole thing at once.
Yeah.
Right. So it's, if you watch football or soccer, you may not understand all the rules, but you can tell ball go and goal. Right. But racing isn't like that, because they follow it more like golf. They'll say, hey, this is going over here with these racers. Now let's go look to see what these racers are doing. So I, as a fan, I can't say I only want to watch signs. Right.
Do they not have, because like in golf now, you can follow a broadcast with just those, the players that you want to follow. They don't have anything like that yet.
They don't. And I'm hoping now Apple actually got the U.S. distribution rights for Formula One. So I'm hoping they're going to bring something different to it.
Yeah.
It's hard as a fan to follow it, right? Especially newer, you're going to watch a race. That's why I say start with qualifying. Don't watch a race, because you're going to be like, that bouncing around. I know you said that about Drive to Survive. That's how a race is. They bounce around constantly. So you're like, well, are they winning right now, or who is that? So it's a lot harder to watch.
So you would rather be able to watch a broadcast that's just following signs and then like watching what he's doing the entire race? Or no?
Yeah,
Maybe not anymore.
Yeah, that's hard too, right? Because there's just so much different things happening, right? Sometimes the battles in the middle of the grid.
Yeah. They are more interesting.
Yeah. So I would like more of an option to be able to say, because like historically, it's like there's been times where Max is winning by 30 seconds, and they keep
huge.
cutting, they keep cutting
right.
to him, and it's huge because you see him and he's literally the only car that you can see.
Yeah.
And you're like, stop cutting to that. Like, we get it. He hasn't crashed yet. Yeah, that's fine. Just tell me he hasn't crashed yet. Right. So it's harder to be able to pick and choose what you see. You're up to the mercy of the producer.
Yeah.
To choose where the fights are happening. So yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Awesome.
Well, lead-in question is our general Q&A section then.
Yes.
If you could only go to one race,
Yes.
which one would you want to go to? Would it be Monaco? Would it be Silverstone?
So Monaco is like a party all week. I don't know if I'd want to do that.
Okay.
That'd be exhausting. From a pure race standpoint, I would want to go to Silverstone.
Okay.
That's it's one of the older tracks, so they've kind of perfected it. They've already reworked it. So from where you could sit and watch, it's going to be great. The drivers like it because there's a lot of straights, a lot of turns, a good variety. It's fun to drive. And it's just got a good tradition where it's at in the UK. So I would say probably from the fandom standpoint of the experience, honestly, I would want to go to the Mexico Grand Prix.
Okay.
Because the stands are supposed to be bananas.
Okay.
Like,
Wow.
it looks like they're super close. The stands are massive. Everyone gets crazy. So just the energy alone, I think, would be really cool. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Let's see here. If you were in an F1 pit crew, what job would you want to have?
Yes. I would want to be a strategist. So again, because my favorite driver is known for his strategy, I think the strategy around a race is really interesting. All the teams, they'll spend a bunch of times prepping for it, but it's like there's that Mike Tyson quote, like everyone has a plan until you're punched in the face. In Formula One, it's everyone has a plan until turn one.
Yeah.
Right? Because all the cars are condensed. That's where the first action happens. Usually coming out of that first turn, you know who's going to lead the first third of the race.
Yeah.
And so they'll have a plan and a strategy, and then what happens in turn one, someone gets knocked out, some damage to your car, or you end up falling back 3 in the grid. That changes your whole strategy. So I think from an engagement standpoint, that would be the best. It also does open you up to a lot more of criticism from the drivers.
Sure.
I don't know if I'd handle that right, because there's a lot of conversations where you can hear it, like after the race, the driver's like, "Hey man, catch me outside. We're about to settle this." But yeah, the strategy is really, really something I think I could do okay at.
Nice.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Nick, you got one?
Yeah, I mean, this is similar to my question from earlier, but it feels like you were saying earlier that the race is decided on Saturday sometimes. Like there's, we know who the top 2 or 3 teams are going to be, and then there's going to be a drop off in quality, and then there's going to be the rest of the teams. Do you think, in your personal opinion, does that take away from the sport, or does it add to it in some way?
I guess what in particular, just the qualifying piece being that important.
I would say, I guess kind of similar to my question earlier. I know, you got 2 drivers that are winning almost every single race. If it was, because I think I was looking up some stats. I know that Verstappen was pretty lights out for several years.
Yeah.
And then what's his name? Who's the McLaren? Won last year.
Lando. Yeah,
Lando. What a name.
Yeah.
But
We like
between the
that
two
name.
of them, they won, like almost every single race last year. And then, from there was plenty of teams that just, or maybe it's the second drivers. I don't know how it works exactly. Is that who it is? Usually the second drivers are the ones that are down in the non points
I even
category.
wrote this bit thinking about teams for the longest time it was Mercedes was number 1, and then it was always Red Bull and Ferrari racing for 2 and 3, and everyone was ecstatic to be second because no one's gonna catch Mercedes, but we can try to be second. Does that take away from the sport knowing that every weekend Mercedes is gonna win or whoever it's gonna be?
I would say no, because for multiple reasons. So a lot of the teams like Mercedes or Red Bull, they continue to win like that because their organization is all about the competition, right? And they come together as an organization to continue to be able to be competitive, because what happens when you're number 1, everyone, espionage, you can call it, everyone's trying to copy your car.
Leaks probably.
They're trying to poach your engineers. It's you put a target on your back, everyone's trying to do what you're doing, and they'll catch up pretty quickly. And so those top teams, they have to continue to push it to be able to stay on top. And so it's interesting to watch how these other teams are able to catch up, right? Or in some cases, I know I kept making fun of Ferrari, but they can get anybody they want. So it's always funny to see how they screw it up. And so it is still interesting because kind of they're constantly moving the target. And so if the best teams like Mercedes is incredible to me from an organization standpoint, right? They've been so successful at a singular focus over such an extended period of time. Even though if you look at each year, you see all the different challenges they had to do it, right? It makes sense on a spreadsheet, or it says Mercedes, but it's different every year. All the different things they have to fight. They have to keep their drivers happy. They have to pay them enough. They have to keep their engineers happy. They're constantly with the new regulations. They have to make sure that when they have to rebuild the car, it's still going to be number 1. So there is still a lot that goes into that, and it does keep it interesting. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Nice. Well, kind of along the same lines, one of the things that I was most interested to learn is that every team,
Yes.
we talked about the drivers shifting around a lot. Every team has a typical this is our number 1 driver. This is the guy. And the number 2 driver will often have to play defense or something and help. I just watched one where Sainz was winning and Leclerc was we need you to build up a gap 3 seconds between you two so you can slow everybody down.
Yes.
Is that more exciting or more
It's exciting because it's
infuriating?
so inconsistent.
Okay.
Right. So, the statement that every team has a number 1 driver is controversial in itself, because most likely from an organization standpoint, they have a number 1 driver.
Sure.
It's easy for Red Bull. They have Max Verstappen, and then whoever the poor soul is that's number 2, right? They build their car specifically for Max.
Yeah.
Last season's clear example. Max kept fighting for podiums, and then their number 2 driver, the highest they got was maybe 6, but most of the time they were 15 to 20. Nobody else could drive this car. Right. And so clear number 1 there. And then you flip over to McLaren, who ended up winning the constructors. They wouldn't say they had one. And in fact, they have what they call the papaya rule, where they allow them to fight as long as they do it cleanly. Right. They're not going to say who's number 1. What they'll do is they'll actually choose to say who's got better pace. Right. So in a case in point where they ask someone to swap, they'll just say, hey, this person's got better pace today. They're doing better than you. Just let's give them a little extra help. And a lot of teams like McLaren, their drivers will be really upset about it, but they'll do it. There's other people like Max that he would never
Oh,
do
no,
it. He
never,
said, don't ever. In fact, there's a clip of him and he's saying, you remember when we talked about this last time? I'm not going to do that. And that's during the race, right? So there's times where teams will say, we don't have a number one. They usually do, but they'll let each other fight it out because sometimes their number two drivers got better pace, so let them cook while they're doing it.
Yeah, I'll say that's one of the most interesting things is that they talk about even though they're on a team together, they're the bitterest of rivals. Whoever's like in the same car as you.
From a sports standpoint, that's one of the things that makes Formula One the most unique because not only is your teammate not really your teammate, in most cases they're your biggest rival.
Yeah,
because think about it from an ego standpoint, it's if you can beat me in equal machinery, you're better than me.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these teams, what they'll do is they'll have to favor one of the drivers. So if they get a new upgrade package, they're not going to want to take a chance on both the drivers. They'll choose who could potentially get it, right? So they want to be kind of competitive there. And so, they're constantly. It's a constant thing. Great example, and I think I sent you guys one of the memes as well. Of Lewis Hamilton had won, I think at this point, 3 world championships. He was over at Mercedes, and then he had a guy that was on the grid for like 9 years or something that really hadn't done a lot. He was pretty good, but hadn't done a lot. Nico Rosberg, or Rosberg, that I sent you guys a picture of it doing, and so he kind of came in there, and then you see it's like Lewis Hamilton, Nico. And so he beat Lewis Hamilton in equal machinery, and he has never let him live that down to this day.
That's
right?
funny.
This was back 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And he's still living rent free in Lewis's head. And and so it constantly comes up as this joke of like, yeah, you won 7 championships, but then Nico beat you in equal machinery. Like, and so like it's still a thing that
That's so funny.
that they're just never truly teammates.
Yeah, wow. That's great. Well, I'll ask one final question here. How accurate do you feel the F1 movie is, and would you recommend it?
Great question, because I feel like my answer changes with the wind.
Okay.
Overall, there's a lot of things that the movie gets correct. I was actually impressed with the plot being driven by some of the technical rules around the race. So if you guys haven't seen it, not a ton of spoilers here, but they don't have a great car, and they make up for that by early on kind of gaming a little bit of the rules to be able to gain an advantage. Are you going to see that at every race? No. But the teams are doing that. They know the rule books inside and out. Sometimes they need a pace car so they can catch up, or they need new tires. So maybe somebody gets a red flag. And, it's not going to be hard. There's a lot of drivers that have openly admitted, I purposely crashed my car because it was strategic advantage. So they captured that a lot in the movies. One of the things that's super impressive is almost all the shots of the races were from actual races.
Oh, that's cool.
Or it was them actually driving it. So what I noticed when I was watching the second time, where CG's used is during the crashes. It wasn't actually during the driving. So very visceral experience to be able to see it. They did a phenomenal job capturing that. And so from that standpoint, that is very real. And then a lot of the technologies the team uses, right? They have sensors on everything. And during the races, they're monitoring everything. So they can see not just the times of the different sectors of the track, but each of the individual tire temperatures, engine temperature. They're tracking all of this stuff in real time. And so the amount of technology they have around the simulators, it's super heavy on the tech, which I think they did a good job showing in the movie. Then you get into a lot of the plot points of they have this guy who's 50 years old. They can't get a driver to fill the spot, so they get this old washed up guy. That part starts to get pretty ridiculous, right? These teams. There's one line in there like, well, we already asked 7 other drivers. You're the 8th one. No. In Formula One, you ask one driver.
Yeah, anyone would have been happy to get a seat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't care what it takes. I'll get a seat.
Yeah.
There is a few cases of somebody coming out of retirement to help with the team, but that's usually kind of just a Band-Aid. But a lot of the plot around like the drivers saying like, oh, we need to, be able to fight in dirty air, right? That is something that all the teams are doing. That's not something unique right? That's not a special strategy that they have to keep quiet. And all the teams are doing that. So ultimately, that part just became unrealistic, and it just has kind of a Hollywood feel good story to it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, would I recommend it? I would think if you know nothing about Formula One, I think there's probably more advantages than disadvantages. It's entertaining. I watched it. I had fun. I think in general for the fan base, they say it's a great Hollywood movie. It's good that Formula One's getting attention, especially because Brad Pitt was out there driving in some of those scenes, which is pretty cool, right? Yeah. And it helps get international attention. But if you're looking to say like, is this what I'm going to expect every race day? You're going to be disappointed because that's not. Yeah, it's a little. They're
a little bit more.
Dramatic.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
planned out. Or I was shocked, like, because the movie portrays like the team headquarters and like even like the paddock like as like the super high tech like sort of thing. And I was surprised how realistic that was because like you see some of the headquarters and stuff like that in Drive to Survive, and it's straight up like an Apple factory, like where it's just
that's a good point. So McLaren's headquarters was one of the prominent set pieces in Andor, the show.
Oh,
no
and
way.
they changed
That is
almost
crazy.
nothing because
it's
Wow.
it's sci-fi,
state-of-the-art.
like
That's
so
state of the art
cool.
everything.
I loved Andor, so that's
and everything is like
That's cool.
pristine and clean. It's not like what you expect for like a car shop, like where
Was it
like
the
oil
prison
and stuff
sequences,
everywhere.
Is that right or no?
I would have to look it up. I don't remember, but I do remember when I was watching it with my wife. I did the whole like Leonardo DiCaprio. I was like, that's what McLaren's headquarters. So
Oh, man.
that's funny.
Well, I mean, I know the season's about to start. Like you
Yes.
said, that they're doing preseason testing right now, which is where a
Yes.
lot of the teams unveil their car for the first time, and like you get to see.
and it's new
what it
regulations,
forms.
so all the teams had to do a complete rebuild of their car.
That's
so these
crazy.
are true. It's a true reset for this season.
Any predictions for the season? Is it gonna go max,
Well,
or is McLaren
so-
gonna stay on top?
Great question, because we're in I think day 3 of like a 3-block series. So far, so they added a new team. So and now instead of having to track 20 drivers, you have 22. So they added an 11th team. So out of the 11, I think 8 have driven their cars so far. A lot of good buzz about Mercedes, mostly around because they do manufacture their own engine and just around the raw output. So that's pretty exciting. As a Williams fan, I hate saying it. Not looking good because they didn't pass their crash test in time to be able to make it to the first 2 days.
Oh, good.
And
Dang.
and then there's a pretty seems reasonable rumor that it's about 30 kilograms overweight, so that they can test it, but it's never going to be allowed to actually race in its current form. So
Sheesh.
so it's I'm going back and forth between being excited to like just wanting to like fall asleep for a few months and, then, and just wait for it to be over.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Mercedes is probably going to be strong. Honda went over to Aston Martin. Honda's power unit's supposed to be insane strong. So, yeah, maybe somebody new on top of the grid this year.
Interesting.
Wow, cool.
Are there any new rule changes that are in the docket here for this next season that are going to maybe switch things up a little bit?
Not just with the cars, I guess they have changed. One of the big things of the last regulation was DRS, which is the drag resistance system. What this was is it was a way to initially just make it more interesting. There was more overtakes. And so they
Is that the thing with the fin?
Yes. So the fin would actually flip to allow them. The rules were on a straightaway, if you're within a certain amount of time to the driver in front of you, driver in front of you is required to give you like a lane for you to pass. And then the person behind could get DRS. So it allows them a little boost to be able to overtake. Sounds kind of like, it's kind of lame. When I say it that way, but from a fan standpoint and from a driver standpoint, we all loved it. It was great. It made it interesting. It really changed the strategy to make it more engaging, give the drivers a lot more control. And so they actually are getting rid of DRS this year, but there's something they're calling overtake mode, where it's like optional power that they can get from their new power units that are supposed to be 50% battery based. It's completely changing the strategy, because if their battery runs out in the race, like they lose half the power of their engine.
Yeah.
So like there's going to be cool new strategies there. So not really like a rule change, but it's going to be the regulations going to change their strategies, and it's going to be really cool to see how the drivers respond to that. So
Nice.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like how often it actually works, or like you said, drains half the battery.
Yeah,
and
they take a gamble and then it blows up in their face, or it's
Yeah.
just it's going to be really cool to see just that difference.
Yeah, nice.
Oh man, so many times I've compared this to real life pod racing, like legit,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a
I
little bit
mean-
is, yeah, like, and so it's super fascinating, and so, well,
I just wish they wore like cool goggles.
that would be
Yeah,
great,
I know,
yeah.
that's
I know
neat.
they used to back in the day.
The helmets are pretty sweet though.
The helmets are cool. So I thought you might like that because with every single race, they redo the paint job on the driver's helmets. So
Oh,
they have
I've been
cool,
noticing
unique-
that, yeah.
they have unique paint jobs on their helmets every race, which is it's always cool to see, right? Because they'll post stuff on Instagram like this is the hot drop, and yeah, it's nice.
Nice. Well, Keith, thank you so much for
Yeah,
coming on.
thank you.
Super appreciate it, and again for getting me into it now a little bit too. So
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Wow.
Love it.
Was that like a?
That was an F1 car.
That was
yeah.
an F1 car. Yeah. Sounds a little bit different than you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was one of those things they used the soccer games.
A vuvuzela.
Oh, vuvuzela.
Yes.
Well, not an air horn, no, Michael.
That's actually what they do is they drive at 200 miles an hour and blowing up vuvuzela. So
Awesome. Thank you
Yes.
so much again, and
Thank you,
super
guys.
appreciate it all, and yeah. So next up, we are going to be talking with my girlfriend Casey about Stardew Valley, which I know Nick, you know a lot about. Michael, I'm going to be super fascinated to hear what you think about this with zero context.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm excited. Trust me.
I feel like you need to pick it up or something, Michael. There's so many like places where you can play it from. Like it's a fun little cozy gaming setup there. So it's fun. It's a good time.
Okay, sweet. I'm excited. Very
Yeah,
cool.
well, you'll hear after this next episode then, and then maybe we'll get you into that.
Yeah.
All right, well, till next time, thank you guys, and we'll see you soon.
Yep.
Well, we hope you enjoyed hearing about today's fandom. Thanks for joining us. Give us a follow on Instagram or Threads at FoF.pod to stay up to date with all the latest, and check out the video version on YouTube at Fandom of Fandoms. Have a fandom that you want us to dive into? Send us an email at fandomofpodcast@gmail.com. Till our next adventure, keep being passionate, keep being curious, and keep being a fan.